Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Raffi, and as always, joined by Theodore and Davian. Boys, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right into it. There were some big moves in the NFL. A lot of coaches going around to some places. Let's go around the table real quick. Thoughts on Sean Payton being traded for a first-round pick this year, pick 30, and a 2024 second-round pick to the Denver Broncos. Along with Sean Payton's rights, a third-round pick in 2024 is also going the Broncos' way. Theodore, your thoughts?
First of all, I'm very offended about the fact that you did not ask me how I'm doing today. I mean,
we have a lot to talk about today.
What kind of host?
Facts.
What kind of host doesn't check in on his co-host?
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
I know you guys are doing great because you guys are hanging out with me. There we go.
Oh, yeah, okay. Someone's a little overconfident. Speaking of overconfident, that is how Broncos fans are probably feeling right now after having gotten Sean Payton, because Sean Payton's an incredible coach. I really do believe that. The Broncos have so many holes on this team, and I don't know if Sean Payton's got to fix it. What I will say, I absolutely understand why they made the move, and I fully support it. I really don't think there was anything better they could have done with that first-round pick they had, because you clearly are at this point where you have to go all in on winning with Russell Wilson. So, yeah, getting an all-time great coach to run your team. I understand the move. I don't know how much of an effect it'll have.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I don't think that pick 30, as you're saying, I think this is a good price to pay for a head coach. And I think you're bringing in one of the best offensive-minded coaches in NFL history, some might say, definitely over the last 10, 15 years. And when your team has produced as much offense as like a turtle has gained miles on a track, that made no sense. But regardless, just like how my transitions make no sense, the Broncos needed offense. And I think bringing in a guy like Sean Payton hopefully should fix their issues, with obviously the big one being Russell Wilson. I guess this is more or less just doubling down on it. And if next year Russell Wilson is not that guy, then they're going to have to cut ties in some way, shape, or form. The Broncos are made out of money right now, though, so I don't think it's a big deal, but I certainly think they would like for Russell Wilson to turn it around next year. Davian, I hope you're doing well.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a fairly good move. I mean, it's kind of a long-term move, I think, because Sean Payton's really the type of coach who could set a culture. We kind of saw that with Brian Daboll, and I think Sean Payton is similar to that. I think, in some respect, Brian Daboll is I would go as far as to say that Brian Daboll is in some respects a better coach than Sean Payton, simply because of the turnaround that Brian Daboll is able to do. So we'll truly see if Sean Payton is able to do something like that, and kind of go into how good is start the debate who's the best coach of all time. A lot of people say Bill Belichick, but the question is if Sean Payton's able to turn around this team, and Bill is unable to turn around the Patriots, you could start up that debate. You could start it up, but at the end of the day, Bill is still the best head coach of all time. In any case, I think it's a good move, but that's all I got to say. I think a better move, though, was the Patriots hiring Bill O'Brien. I think it's an amazing move because Mac Jones has worked with Bill O'Brien before. Mac Jones finally has an offensive coordinator that he can actually talk to, not freaking Matt Patricia, who's an absolute bum and doesn't know anything about how to run an offense. And I also think, Bill O'Brien has the connection with Bill Belichick. They're on the same mindset. And then fourth of all, really, Bill O'Brien's coming from Alabama's offense, which works. Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are very similarly minded when it comes to head coaching. So I think great move hiring Bill O'Brien. Thank you for.
They always come back. They always come back to New England. When you leave New England, you always come back, especially if you do bad. If you do bad like Matt Patricia and some other guys, Josh McDaniels obviously with his nonsense, you always come back. You always find a way. Theodore, your thoughts on Bill O'Brien?
As far as my thoughts go, look, anything's an upgrade over Patricia. I want to ask Davian a different question, different Patriots-related question. You're on the topic of they always come back. Obviously, Tom Brady retired, and I know that's something we're going to get to in a minute. How do you feel about him about the process of getting him to do the one-day contract.
Real quick, for the sake of remembering Matt Patricia, I just wanted to put a pencil in my ear, as Matt Patricia does all the time. If he doesn't have a pencil in his ear, things are going bad. So there's my sign of respect.
Are things ever not going bad with Matt Patricia, though?
What was that?
Are things ever not going bad with Matt Patricia, though?
Yeah.
Pencil in the ear or not?
Matt Patricia's a rocket scientist who doesn't understand football. So,
Yes.
But Davian, let the tears begin.
Yeah,
I want to see the flow.
Let me go a bit of a rant again. So Theodore, when it comes to Brady coming back to the Patriots, his hesitancy to sign a one-day deal, honestly, as a Patriots fan, is making me not look so greatly upon him. It's like, why aren't you? Like, this is the team that picked you up in the 6th round. You were given the opportunity to be starting QB, and then you're able to continue have that opportunity even after a QB like Drew Bledsoe was signed to a $100 million plus contract for 10 years. I am shocked to see that he's taking so long to really sign with the team. I think, in some respect, that he's actually considering coming back to the NFL, and he's figuring out how he's going to do that. I think he might be joining the Dolphins staff, as we know, everything that happened last year. Honestly, though, I hope it happens soon. Maybe he's just in the process of, I'll do it at some point, just not right now. Honestly, I'm a bit disappointed. In terms of kind of Brady's retirement in general, it shocked me, and I kind of mentioned this before when we were talking about where Brady will go, and I think Theodore or Raffi, I'm not sure, but one of you guys brought up the idea of what if he retires? And I simply said, well, he walked off that field seeming like he's going to be coming back.
Yeah.
And to really see him not is surprising, because he walked off that field as if he didn't wave or anything. He just walked off into that locker room.
I think we all remember one thing that hit me really hard was Drew Brees. When he was eliminated in the playoffs, he took one last look back, took it all in, and then went back in. And I was just like,
yeah, or imagine Big Ben when it was his last game of his career. They're the amount of time that he spent going around the stadium.
Yeah, but let's be honest here. His last game of his career was 2 years in the making with how poor he was playing.
Yeah.
2 things real quick. First off, I agree with you, Davian. I was a bit thrown off by this. It was also really funny too because it was early in the morning. I wake up pretty early, but that news dropped quite early a couple days ago. But I did think Brady was going to come back for one last year. I thought he was going to potentially go to Vegas. Davian, it's okay. Don't worry. I'll send you some tissues. Might get there to your house in a couple days, but I'm sure with Amazon or some FedEx shipping, we can get it over there. Not sponsored, but if you guys want to sponsor us, that would be great. Another thing I want to mention, because I have to, the last team to beat Tom Brady in the regular season, you better believe it, the Atlanta Falcons. We are winning the NFC South next year. Get ready. We have over $70 million. It's going to happen. The Saints aren't going to do anything. The Panthers aren't going to do anything. The Bucks, it's the Falcons' time. A lot of people are trying to debate in our TikTok comments. Benchwarmer Sports, be sure to follow us on TikTok. Shameless plug. But I'm just going to put it out there. The Falcons did beat Tom Brady. It counts as a loss for Brady. And we are going to the playoffs next year. Book it.
You guys finished under 500, right?
I can't even really debate that because honestly, the Falcons might be the best situated team right now, as crazy as it sounds.
I don't know. You guys are really counting out the Bucks.
I am counting out the Bucks.
We are, yes, because Levante David might be leaving too, and that takes a huge hit to the team chemistry.
The Buccaneers have a defense, all right?
Oh, pieces are going to
start. But Levante David might be gone. Shaq Barrett might be gone. And you have to remember, too, Tom Brady retiring. I think there's also a cap that goes against the Buccaneers as well for his retirement. So that's another thing you need to take into consideration.
He wasn't under contract.
He wasn't under contract.
Oh, he wasn't? Oh.
No, he signed 2 years
I thought I saw something about money, but I guess that's fake news.
This was his last year on the deal.
It's just I don't see the Bucks making that much noise. I mean, if anything, the Panthers might be a team to watch.
But it's the Falcons, man.
I mean, but Derek Carr looks so good. Derek Carr would be great on the Panthers, or maybe Jacoby Brissett. I actually do want the Falcons to go after Jacoby Brissett. I think he'd be a good guy to potentially challenge Ritter for the starting job, and he looked good with the Browns. So,
Yeah,
no bad things will be said about Jacoby Brissett out of my mouth. But come on, Carolina, maybe spin the QB carousel one more time. I know Carson Wentz might be available, so you can just go after him. Anyways, let's
go
go
for
back
Jimmy
to
G.
coaching real quick. Yes, Jimmy G, make it happen. Although I think he might be going to Vegas. Regardless, D'Amico Ryans goes to the Texans. He was apparently on the Broncos list. There was some stuff that was coming out that said that Sean Payton was the Broncos' third choice, and they tried to get John Harbaugh first and then D'Amico Ryans. There's been some dispute about that, so I'm not going to really delve.
I
We're not
call
going to delve
cap.
deeper
Ain't no
into
way they're
that.
trying to take D'Amico Ryans over.
Yeah, I'm not going to delve deeper into that because that could just be lost translation. Different people heard different things, so we're not going to dive into that rabbit hole. But D'Amico Ryan's going to the Texans, Niners defensive coordinator. Boys, any quick thoughts before we continue on?
Great head coaching decision. All right, you bring in a player who knows the culture of the team, who came from like a time period where the Texans were fairly good in AFC South. He understands the culture of a winning team. He was part of a 49ers coaching brass, which is really good. He was there for a while. He understands how to run a team. I think it's a very good hire. He's also very young. I think he connected with the players. I mean, there's some players that might have even played with him since he only retired a few years ago. And I think it's a great signing by the Texans.
I agree. I mean, this is a move that's really, really hard to hate on. The Texans proved they're a team that's still far away from competing, but they're going to add what they hope is their QB of the future. They got this young coach, and, it's a team, when you look at that division, that could very easily be competing in a few years. Look how fast the Jaguars turned it around.
See, but we also see how quick things can unravel. I think we all remember the Jaguars, although it was Blake Bortles, and we all knew that wasn't likely going to be a sustainable quarterback for a playoff
Well, I'm
team.
saying this year, like the Jaguars had the number one pick a year ago and, won a playoff game this year.
Yeah. They have the potential to keep this up, and I hope they do for everyone listening and who thinks I rip on the Jags. I was on the Jags train back in week 3. I said the Jaguars were going to win the AFC South, although that's not very impressive in hindsight, thinking about how poorly the Tennessee Titans fumbled the bag there. But yeah, I think it's good hiring for the Texans. I think hopefully you can get, if you're winding up with CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, I still don't like Will Levis, but that just might be me. It might just be because he puts mayonnaise in his coffee, but I don't think anyone really likes Will Levis except for GMs. So we'll see if we're meant to be GMs or not, or we're just being exposed for being not scouting and just talking. Anyways, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, the Texans are guaranteed one of them. So
right.
I think you hopefully can get your guy. Worst case, you get a really solid guy with some high potential. And yeah, I think the Texans.
Trade out of your position, or you just trade out from.
You could, but I think you can also I think with a pick like that, you just take your guy and then you can start to build around him over the next few years.
Honestly, I love the idea of bringing a new head coach and a new QB. We saw this.
If they had the first overall pick, getting the chance to also just guarantee your guy would have been, I think, the best case scenario for the Texans, because it's like, okay, we have our new head coach. Who do you think would fit best in your coaching scheme? Right. Who do you think would fit best here? There is a chance that they do not get their guy, but I think either way, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young would be good options.
Is that right?
They do, and the Bears have number 1. And trust me, I've been hearing the buzz around Chicago a lot, and I would not be shocked if the Bears move
I honestly,
down.
I feel like, we will get into, without diving too deep, but I think that the Texans trade out of this and take a spot at number 6 or something like that, and then draft the QB that they want. I think that's my main comment. I don't see the Texans officially drafting, but I think overall it's good. Already a good start to the offseason for them. I think a lot of teams, they've been making the right moves that they've been needed to make, and some teams have been entering the free agency with a factor of uncertainty, especially the Packers. Just want to quickly touch on this, with Aaron Rodgers basically being halfway out the door. If I'm the Packers, honestly, I don't know if you could really do this, but I'm kicking Rodgers out. He is a toxic presence on the team. Yes, he might be winning games, but his toxic presence, he's getting older. You have Jordan Love. You picked him in the first round. He's been years under Rodgers. I think you throw him in there, let him develop a bit more, and we'll see what happens from there.
Agreed.
Also, I mean, then again, like when we did see Love play, he didn't play great. So,
Davian, my goodness. You should have just told me you were from Chicago. I would have believed you after that statement. That's amazing. Anywho, I would love to delve in deeper into this topic of Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot to talk about, so we will definitely touch on this. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers, definitely not listening to this podcast, but if you are, hello. It's nice to meet you. Nice that you're a listener. But if I'm asking Aaron Rodgers for one thing, it's do not make your decision next week, please, because we have the Super Bowl preview episode, and we cannot handle more news, unfortunately.
Yes. That's definitely something they do to try to upstage the Super Bowl. Like, he'd make a huge announcement.
We're just trying to upstage our podcast. That's really the big deal. The Super Bowl or our podcast, I think we all know which one has the priority. Let's move over real quick to some NBA talk. Kyrie Irving is being a bit of a diva, and he has asked for out of the Brooklyn Nets. Davian, I will pass this over to you first.
It's so freaking funny. This guy said, I want to be the number one player on a team. He gets his shot with KD being injured, and what does he do? He asks for a trade. They're the number 4 seed in the East. Nope, that's not good enough for Kyrie. He wants out. I think that the Nets are screwed now. I barely see Kyrie getting traded for a first-round pick.
Not even 3?
Who wants Kyrie on their team? Honestly.
No one.
I mean, Raffi, you and I were talking about this pregame. Like, I was like, well, the Knicks could technically pick him up. Like, I think about it more. Like, why would any team want him? He's not productive. He's inconsistent. Well, he is productive, but he's inconsistent, and he's just a toxic presence on the team. And it's just all the characters you don't want in a player. I think that it's great that the Nets are being forced to trade him, because I think without Kyrie on the team, this Nets team is going to do exponentially better within this year and next year.
Highly disagree with some of what you just said. First of all, as far as value goes, you're right, because he's not going to command much value. But as far as him on court not being a superstar anymore, that's completely off. I mean, he's not a super. No, he definitely is a superstar. I just don't feel like his presence on the team is going to be beneficial for that team in the long term. Look, he's averaging 27, 5, and 5 a game. All right, when you're that good of a player, most of what you say or any of that will have such little impact. And look, obviously, he's been, involved in some negative stuff. Obviously, there's always some controversy surrounding him. I just really don't think any kind of controversy around him right now is too big, or the risk is too high for a team to be scared away from trading him. Now, for example, the Lakers, right, could very easily say, you know what, sure, we'll give you Russ.
That would just be such a mess, I feel like.
That would be such a mess, and it's something that could happen. But if you're telling me that the Dallas Mavericks wouldn't benefit from Kyrie Irving on the team, you're crazy. Like, true. There are a lot of NBA teams right now that could really, really benefit.
Right. A lot of teams could use Kyrie. I just don't feel like Kyrie is like a... I wouldn't treat Kyrie like Luka Doncic if like he was up on the table. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So like Donovan Mitchell, right? He was traded for
like,
I 4 first-round picks, all those young players. Kyrie's package will be nowhere near that.
Right. Yeah, that's my whole point. My whole point is that
I'm absolutely with you.
Kyrie's great, but he's not going to be. He is not. There's no way he's going to be worth that much.
He's probably going to be traded for an expensive point guard to like take his place.
I say banish him to the Rockets.
Plus a role player, plus probably 1 first-round pick. I can't see him fetching multiple picks, like you said.
I think it'll definitely be interesting to see how it develops over the next few days. I'm sure we'll have some stuff on our TikTok.
The other key part of the story, though, is teams are asking about Kevin Durant now. Like, oh, your co-star wants out. Can we trade for KD? That's where stuff gets really,
So
really
at what point, the Nets are sitting on the 4th seed, right?
Yes.
How much do the Nets really want to blow this all up?
They don't. They should not.
I don't think they do.
And I don't think they
And-
should.
Yeah, Raffi, I think you're absolutely right. I think the trade deadline will come and pass. And nobody will be traded. I mean, both of these guys requested trades over the summer. Where did that get them? Nowhere. Kyrie, when is Kyrie not requesting a trade or asking to be moved? Like, he always says stuff and it never comes to fruition.
Yeah.
If I'm the Nets right now, I'm a team that looks at myself and they're in the best shape they've ever been to win a title. And I'm serious about that.
Well, yeah, I agree. And if you look at the East, it's really like obviously you have the Celtics, you have Giannis and the Bucks. That's always a scary team. The Sixers are probably going to just be a disappointment as always, but they're 9-1 in their last 10. The Cavs have been good, but I still think that they need a little bit more pain in the playoffs to really be a team taken seriously. Heat aren't bad. The Knicks are going to Knicks it up at some point, just like the Chargers. We all know the Knicks are going to blow it at some point. Atlanta has been really rough this year. I'm sure you guys can expand on why. I just noticed that they're not doing very well this year. Wizards and Bulls, I don't see them being a threat at all. The Pacers could be a team that sneaks in. The Raptors have been awful. I think the Nets, if you're looking at this from a Nets management perspective, I don't see how you would miss the playoffs unless everything went to absolute garbage. And you think about it too, like you don't have any picks. You're really, if you trade Kevin Durant, yeah, you're getting a lot of futures, but it's like you're not gonna drop in the standings very far. I don't think you're still probably gonna make the playoffs. You're gonna lose in the first round then, but you're not gonna gain. I mean, obviously there's players that you can hit on mid to late first round, but if you're in the Nets, you gotta just keep going and bash your head against the wall and just hope it all works out. I don't see the point.
Yeah. The Nets, as far as supporting cast goes right now, are really, really, really well positioned. Joe Harris is one of the best shooters still, as is Seth Curry. I love this guy, Cam Thomas, they picked up. He's just a great, rotational guard. TJ Warren, always a solid rotational player. Yuta Watanabe is now one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Shout out, A10 basketball, George Washington right there. And Nick Claxton is a guy I was been really high on since his rookie year when they picked him up undrafted. He's just a really, really nice player I think he's almost averaging a double-double this year. He's just really picked it up. In addition to Ben Simmons, it's like this is the best. This Nets core, or not core, the rest of the team minus KD, Kyrie, is better than it was in 2021 when they lost to the Bucks. I fully believe
absolutely. The NBA trade deadline is approaching soon, which actually is quite surprising because they started after the NHL, I believe. I think they started a week after, and the NHL trade deadline, I believe, is March 3rd. So get ready for a whole Patrick Kane sobbing episode when that hits the markets, or maybe a YouTube short. We'll see. But regardless, NBA trade deadline is coming up. That's one of the main things in the NBA season that I actually am interested in and I actually watch a little bit, pay a little attention to. So we'll see what happens with Kyrie Irving, and if there's any updates on the situation going forward, definitely check out our TikTok. Maybe our YouTube will have a YouTube short out. We'll see. Moving on, I want to talk about the All-Star game, but first, I think we need to discuss the AFC and NFC championship games. Obviously, you had the Eagles-Niners. That game was very disappointing.
Yeah,
just because.
I mean, what can you expect? I mean, the guy got injured.
Right. I'm just saying it was going to be such a good game, and unfortunately, we wound up with a situation, a very unfortunate circumstances where Brock Purdy went down with a very bad injury, and Josh Johnson got concussed. I didn't think Josh Johnson was going to win that game for the Niners, but it was just a shame that Brock Purdy's Cinderella run ended in the fashion that it did.
Yeah. So I guess no further comments on that game, really, other than the Eagles are, as much as we clown on them, they're legit. They are legit.
Yeah.
Eagles superfan Theodore Fernandez, your thoughts on the game before we move on to the other one?
Can I talk about literally anything else? Like literally any other
Sure. Topic? Let's move on to the Chiefs Bengals.
There we go.
Let's be honest. There's not a lot to talk about in that. I will say, first off, you guys are right. Nah, I'm just kidding. The Bengals lost, and we all had the Bengals.
We all had the Bengals.
I'm with you guys here.
Remember, I pointed out that, it was weird that we're all taking the Bengals. Someone should have taken the Chiefs, like I said.
Right.
Yeah.
It's college game day.
That was terrible.
We
you go
watched
on this podcast, you say that the Bengals are going to win. You explain how confident you are in the Bengals. And then you go on TikTok and be like, well, there's still a chance the Chiefs. I was like, yeah, of course.
I was the OG. I was
the Bengals. Come on.
I was the original Bengals supporter. Everyone else is a Bengals bandwagon supporter. Those guys
are just disappointed that Evan McPherson's not going to win Super Bowl MVP this year.
No, it's absolutely absurd. And I can't pick a kicker to win it this year. So, my whole personality is out the window right now.
Maybe look at the punters. Maybe there might be a good punter for you to pick. Thomas Morstead? I think he's on the Saints, but I don't remember. Let's move on to the Chiefs-Bengals as we were just discussing. I just want to mention this. The Bengals, Cincinnati, guys, you guys talk the talk. That's perfectly fine. But guys, you gotta follow it up. The mayor of Cincinnati, congratulations. You are the biggest clown in the entire state of Ohio, and that's a state. It's hard to be that clown. And I guarantee you, I would not be surprised if that guy did not win his re-election race when he's running again for mayor.
Look, leading up to that game, they were talking so much.
They were.
I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals. I like the team.
The Chiefs.
But they were asking for it.
You don't walk into a game with that type of a mindset. Yes, I understand. For the first time ever, you're favored at Burrowhead.
It's
Arrowhead. We all know that now.
It's Arrowhead,
David, what if Joe Burrow had gone down and led that drive? We'd all be talking about, how cool the Bengals were because they were able to challenge. They were so confident. It's something we would have applauded so much if they pulled it through.
Right. No, we would.
But it didn't happen, though. It didn't happen.
If you walk the talk, you get
the
respect.
Walk the talk.
All right. You know what? All right. I'm not perfect with analogies here. All I know is that the Bengals did not play a perfect game either, all right? And they had many chances to win. The game should not have been ended the way it did with a pushing
which was the right call. And I also want to mention too, the Bengals fans complaining about the refs. I honestly didn't think it was too horrendous.
It was not that bad.
And I just want to say this too.
It was bad, but
at the end of the day, even if the refs were against the Bengals the entire time, they got the ball back with just over 2 minutes to go with decent field position, and they were not able to score. So it doesn't matter. They could have kicked that field goal. They could have gone down. They had their chance to win, and that's all that matters. And what did they do with it? Nothing. They gave it to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs went down the field and won the game. So you can make all the comments you want about the refs and it's being rigged and stuff, but I just want to say, if the NFL is rigged, which people on Twitter believe for some reason, but against Twitter, I would just like to know how much money they paid Matt Ryan, Kyle Shanahan, and all those guys to throw Super Bowl 51. I would genuinely be interested to know how much money it costed for them to throw their entire reputations out the door for that ridiculous game.
How would you even rig the league?
I don't know. It was so stupid, but it was so funny how the players picked up on it and they kind of played with it.
That
was part of the script too. This whole entire,
Yeah, leaking that the script was a whole thing.
Leaking that the script is exists, and then no, but look, this Chiefs team, if they are healthy, is dangerous. All right, if you get Kadarius Toney back and you get Juju back, I seriously, we'll talk about this more next week, but I think you're gonna see Mahomes lifting another Lombardi trophy. Simple as that, because the Chiefs offense was good. They weren't perfect, but they were good against this Bengals defense. And I think that, as they are right now, they'll be able to compete with the Eagles. But if they're healthy, that's in its own self. But, we got to talk about the Pro Bowl, as you were saying, Raffi. I don't know if there's anything to talk about the Pro Bowl or the All-Star Weekend in the NHL. They're both, with a lack of better words, they're both a shit show.
Let me just say this. I'll advocate for the NHL real quick because obviously I am the resident hockey fan. I watch hockey. I love hockey. Last year in Vegas, the NHL did a really good job. I am one of the NHL's biggest supporters. I back them on a lot. I'm one of their biggest supporters, 100%. Love this league. And I support Gary Bettman a lot in majority of his decisions. And again, I love Vegas.
That's a terrible take. My man's
this I do boo him though at the draft. Don't worry. I'm not that big of a Gary Bettman loyalist. Anywho, the All-Star weekend, the skills, everything in Florida this year was awful. Was absolutely awful. I did not like it. I think they had some of the right ideas. It was just really poorly executed. I really didn't like. We saw last year there was Jack Hughes, Zegras, the Brinket. Look at what they did for their breakaway stunts. Those were amazing. They got the crowd into it. It was great. Everyone loved it. This year, aside from Ovechkin Jr. scoring his goal with Ovechkin and Crosby, there wasn't really anything. I liked Pasternak's, but it dragged on a little too long. Still liked it. I just thought that it was really lacking this year. It was very disappointing. Now, at the end of the day, were they trying to make me interested? No, because I'm not a part of the target demographic of the All-Star weekend, which is for the kids and to get them into hockey.
Yeah.
Florida is not a big hockey market. It's growing, so it's like I get it. But just from an entertainment perspective, it was definitely a letdown. And once again, last year I thought they did it really well. I really liked it in years past, and I thought the skills competition this year was a big letdown.
It's hard to keep stuff like that fresh over time. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to use the NBA as an example because I've never watched really the NHL skills competition, but
It's actually fun. I will agree that it's actually fun to watch, but yeah.
NBA, like, you get the 3-point contest. That's always fun.
I love
Like,
the 3-point contest.
you get the even like they do this thing where like you pass the ball and you have to take layups and all sorts, and that's fun for me. Like, you know, because it's always, you know, cool players. They split them into teams and all that. But then when you have something like the dunk contest, which ties into the thing you were saying, where it's all like a more creative type thing, it always disappoints. Like, we've reached a point where it's hard to do anything.
See, I don't even think, with all due respect, the dunk contest, I agree with your point. It's kind of hard to just change it up all the time. The skills competition, the breakaway challenge, there was new stuff. I just didn't think it was, I think it just could have been better, personally. I think last year, it really raised the bar to an exceptional level, and I think you just got to try to hit that level again. I think it's doable with the NHL because you have a breakaway, but there's so much you can do depending on the area, all that stuff. But I just wanted to mention that before you continue on with your point.
Yeah, is there really so much you can, like, at the end of the day?
You should look at years past. You can definitely look at years past. There was one where PK Subban had a Yager outfit on. He had like a nice
Yeah, that was actually funny. I saw a clip.
That was great. There's been some really good shootouts. I know Patrick Kane had one that was really fun with, I believe he had like a USA or thing.
Yeah, I mean,
that was nice too.
It's pretty good too.
Right.
But,
so there's been Ovechkin. Yes, how could I forget that one? That was great too.
NBA dunk contest though, I really think this directly mirrors. People always will like take a look at the dunk contest now, right? And say, "Oh, it sucks. Look at years past." There were some big time dunks, but like, you know, Kobe Bryant won the dunk contest, right, in 1997.
Right.
The dunks he did were like the most unimpressive things you've ever seen.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like what happened last year too.
He missed his game-winning, like his contest-winning dunk. Like, he won the contest on a miss.
I think the big thing is just getting the right guys. If you can get the right guys to do this stuff, I think it will work better. And I like Pasternak. I like Ovechkin. I like Crosby. And Theodore, I know there's guys who have done the dunk contest that you personally like. But I think you just also need the right personalities as well doing this.
You do. And when personality ties into something, like, it's always cool. But a lot of the stuff, I feel like, on all these fall flat. Like, they had Cole Anthony come on. Like, he tried to be, like, cool, like, New Yorker wearing Timbs for the dunk, and it just, you know, fell flat. So
it's a good idea. It just didn't work out.
Yes, like, people try stuff. You have the personality and all of them. But I think something we have to get used to is that more often than not, it'll fall flat. But we will, once in a while, get some of those iconic moments that, like, we remember forever.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on the Pro Bowl before we wrap this show up?
Hopefully it's good. It's probably going to be terrible, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Also, like, how does Derek Carr and Tyler Huntley end up getting into the Pro Bowl?
Right.
With how stacked the AFC is, I'm a bit disappointed that they couldn't find that. Like, I get it's a vote, but like that's something where you gotta meddle a little bit.
It's just like, I like the decision of having Trevor, but like then it's like there's so many other QBs. Like,
I only would have liked Tyler
Russell
Huntley.
Wilson at that point.
If if Tyler Huntley was a big meme and everyone was just voting him in just to vote him in, I would have been down for it. But I don't even think
He wasn't.
He wasn't, and that
It
just
was
made it
just
make no sense.
one day it's announced, oh, Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowler. What I'd say is move the game back to Hawaii.
I agree. I like that a lot.
I think players were much more into it when it was a thing in Hawaii.
Yes, absolutely. So that'll do it for this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Tune in next week where we do our official Super Bowl preview. I have a feeling that two of us are going to be picking the Chiefs. One of us is going to be picking the Eagles. Who are the people that are going to be picking the Eagles? It's definitely not going to be Theodore.
Spoiler alert, I'm the one picking the Eagles, guys.
Yes, it is. 100%. Breaking news. You guys are going to want to check that out. Be sure to follow us on TikTok. I have a fun new bracketology thing that I'm going to be posting over the next couple of weeks on the road to March. So you guys are going to want to watch that.
Like, absolutely insane.
Benchwarmer_sports on TikTok. Be sure to follow us. Also getting up some YouTube shorts on YouTube. So you guys are going to want to stick around for some shorter video content as well. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great rest of your week. I'm Raffi, as I always am. Nothing's changed there. Joined by Davian and Theodore, two of the best constants on this podcast. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and good night.
Peace.